Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of Counsellor Convos. So, I am Sheila McMahon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a registered mental health counsellor. And today we have the lovely Sarah here. Now, Sarah has an unusual surname. So, I'm going to ask Sarah to pronounce her own surname. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you so much for inviting me on today. So my surname's Sarah Poirier. Poirier. It's French for pear tree. My husband's French Canadian, so yeah, bit of an unusual one.
Nice. That was Poirier. Absolutely
Poirier.
beautiful name, Sarah. So, Sarah, if you'd like to introduce yourself then as to how come you're here today, stuff, any way you feel comfortable to do so.
Okay, so I'm the one of the regional ambassadors for the Lighthouse charity. So my territory or region is the Midlands, and then I go out to Lincolnshire, Cambridge, East Anglia, Essex, so kind of the middle of the country. So I have my counterparts in Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and all across the UK. Our job is to obviously raise awareness about the charity and all the support services and training that are available.
Wow, fantastic stuff, Sarah. It's interesting because since the start of this suicide prevention series, I've heard about your charity so much. And I hadn't heard of you beforehand, which was unusual because I work a lot with, constructions, organizations. So it is important, like you know your job, you know what you do all the time, but we can never take it for granted that everybody knows about the organization and yourself. So it's really important that we're here today, because I'm hearing about the amazing work that you do. So the Lighthouse Construction Industry Charity. When did it all begin, Sarah?
So it began back in 1956. Obviously, back in 1956, safety measures weren't what they are today on site. So there were a lot more fatalities. So there was a group of construction workers. They were actually on the beach in Whitley Bay. So that's where the name Lighthouse comes from, because they were on the beach. They saw St. Mary's Lighthouse, and they kind of banded together and decided there and then that they were going to call themselves the Lighthouse Club charity. And they wanted to help all those families affected by those on-site fatalities. So it just started out with them sending Christmas hampers. And now, obviously, it's grown to the huge charity that we are today, and we can offer a lot more, which is great.
Wow, what an amazing story and where the name came from. And
Yeah.
sending those Christmas hampers, like people can help in so many different ways and where that's got to now today. So,
Mhm.
wow. And I hear all the different places that are like, and the Republic of Ireland, of course, I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah.
So how big is this charity then?
I know. So in the last 2 years, it's grown a lot. I've been with them for a year and a half now. And
Mhm.
even since I've joined, it's we've got a lot more people on board, which is great. So we're all across the Republic, Northern Ireland, and then all across Scotland, Wales, and England. But yeah, I think a lot of people, when they hear Lighthouse, and it's frustrating when they don't know about us, which is obviously why, we're in this role and we're trying to raise awareness. We offer so many support services and training, which I'm really keen to share with you.
Please
So
do go for it, Sarah. Tell me more. What support do you offer?
So obviously when a lot of people, when they think of the Lighthouse, they just think it's mental health, like first aider training, which absolutely we offer. Our mental health first aider training is accredited and rolled out by Mental Health First Aid England. But we can offer so much more than that. So, for example, like a lot of construction workers, they're either self-employed on 0-hour contracts, agency workers, if they get injured on site or at work, they're then obviously not able to work, they're not being paid, can't provide for themselves or their families. So that's kind of where we can step in and help. So while they're at home recovering from whatever injury they've sustained, we can maybe step in and help pay their council tax for 6 months, help pay credit card repayments, help out with utility bills, mortgage payments, so things like that, because it starts out with that financial pressure. And if someone can step in and help alleviate that, we're then not looking 6 months down the line when no one's been able to help that person. We're then looking not only at financial pressure and stress, we're also looking then at a mental health issue because they've not been able to cope. So so just one of the examples of where we can help.
Sarah, you're absolutely spot on with that. Like I was saying this in another podcast, where when it comes to mental health, it's usually a mixture of lots of different factors. And what I love about what you're saying, it's almost coming in from a preventative point of view. If that person, unfortunately, if they're off for a period of time or for whatever reason, then all of a sudden the financial implications of that and the way that you can step in, maybe help towards a council tax bill, utilities, whatever it is that that person needs, that alleviates some of the pressure, some of the worries that could then go on to just mount on top of worry after worry and become more of a mental health issue, depression, anxiety. So I love what you're saying. It is almost from a preventative point of view. And when I was speaking with Robin from Alpha Construction in one of the podcasts, it was him. He was telling me about the financial support. I was so impressed to hear that, because sometimes people need that before they need the mental health support.
Exactly. Yeah. We've helped replace white goods before. If you've got a construction worker with 4 children at home and the washing machine breaks down, not everyone can budget for those, high-end items, especially at the moment. So if we can come in and step in and help there, we've helped with school uniforms, funeral costs.
Wow.
If subcontractors, if they need help filling in their self-assessment tax returns, retirement planning, things like that. Sadly, Sheila, we get lots of calls each week from people saying, I can't afford to put food on the table tonight. So our helpline advisors will do a food shop for those families. If we can't get those groceries delivered that day or the following, then we'll order Uber Eats for them. So last year, we delivered just over 5,400 family meals.
Wow, so that's incredible. And talk about taking action. Like, I'm so impressed to hear. I know it would be anyway, because I've heard so much from other people that I couldn't wait to be having a chat with you. That is incredible, because sometimes people need action when they're in crisis. They need people to step in. And it makes me wonder, what sort of calls do you get? Like, you're providing food. Do you have any, I don't know, like any common patterns of calls, or does it tend to vary?
So it does vary. We do get lots of wives calling in for their husbands as well. I would like to sort of emphasize that point, that if you have an employee, if there are any construction companies listening and they've got a particular member of staff that they think should call in, as long as that person sat next to you and they give permission, you can make the call on their behalf and say, I've got so and so sat next to me, they've given me permission to call. So we do get wives calling on behalf of their husbands, and then they'll obviously pass the phone over. But obviously it's a predominantly male dominated industry. It's highly pressured. We're well aware of the stress, the deadlines and contract deadlines. But the calls are around, things that have happened to them at work, maybe disagreements with their line managers. We get lots of calls around addiction, so gambling, drug, sex, alcohol addiction. And that's, across the board, from office staff, site workers, project managers, contract managers. The addictions are really, a lot of construction workers are away from home, they're away from their friends and family. So in the evenings, boredom sets in.
Yeah.
And that's when, people can turn to, instead of having an opportunity maybe to go to the gym or something, they're turning to alcohol or drugs to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yes, again, I was chatting, in another podcast where they were talking about this house share. So that when
Yes.
workers are away from home, they
Yeah.
try to do it where they might have an Airbnb and they house share. And then
Yeah.
they might have it where they keep an eye out for like a vulnerable young person. Because sometimes you might have a young person thinks, oh, I can't wait to escape from home. And when they
Yeah.
do, it's like, huh? Responsibility. I'm not sure how I can cope with all of this. Unfortunately, the addiction side of things, I mean, I'm on the books for a lot of construction companies where I would see workers for one-to-one counselling sessions. And
Mhm.
you can just hear the stories, how easy it is to get involved in addiction. The phones, there's so many adverts for for the gambling sites and all of that. It's very sad actually because often it just starts off with, as you say, boredom. It's a bit of fun, and then it can very easily, what starts off something that you're in control of can very quickly escalate to where it's in control of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe you offer a counselling service as well, or that you have counsellors available if people ring up to actually get to speak to a counsellor.
Absolutely, yeah. So when if people call in, if our caseworkers feel that the person would benefit from counselling, we can organise that within 14 days. And that can be virtual, in person, by text, by email. We know that people want to receive help in different ways. So yeah, we've got like a portfolio of counsellors that we can reach out to. So specialist grief counsellors, gambling, people who deal with different addictions. So yeah, and obviously if we get calls and the person is contemplating suicide, then we'll get them into immediate virtual counselling.
Okay, I mean, wow, you're really covering all angles here. I'm so impressed as well with how specific that you go into stuff. Like if it is addiction, if it is grief, that it's not a generic thing, that actually you've got specialists there. That's amazing. And then if somebody is in crisis, that then it's a different ballgame that you're dealing with that straight away, where to speak with somebody straight away. Because I noticed, I think I saw that on your website, the way that you have got a 24/7 helpline.
We
So
do.
that's literally 24 hours a day.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Helpline advisors are there, and we also have a tech service. So we know it takes a lot of courage to pick up the phone and ask for help. So some people don't feel comfortable doing that. So yeah, we have a tech service as well. Again, that's 24/7, and it puts that person who's in crisis into an instant text counselling support.
Wow. And Sarah, like just ask with that, with the call service, with the text service, if somebody rings or texts us, do they get correspondence back straight away or do they have to wait? Kind of, because sometimes I know in other organizations when people text, I texted for a client recently, and
Mhm.
after 4 hours, I gave up. And I
Oh,
couldn't refer that resource for that client because of what I'd experienced. I wouldn't put them through that.
yeah.
So I hope you don't mind me asking and checking this out.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, that the tech service is 24/7. There's a different number. I think you can see it above
Yeah.
me. For
Well, okay,
the
so for those who are listening then, Sarah, do you mind just calling out the numbers?
So for the UK, it's 85258. And if you're in the Republic of Ireland, you will text 50808.
And that's called Text Hard Hat. I love that.
Yeah. And we've also in January launched our live chat service. So we recognise that a lot of our workforce English isn't their first language, and we didn't want there to be any barrier to accessing our help. So that can be translated into over 120 languages.
Sarah, I am so impressed. I am so impressed. with the service that you offer. I mean, wow, everybody in the construction industry needs to know about the Lighthouse charity. It's as simple as that. How do you fund yourselves?
So we're not lottery or government funded. So
Okay.
we do rely on the industry, helping their own. So we're very lucky that we have people fundraising for us. So we've, had people running full half marathons, skydiving, abseiling. Someone climbed Mount Kilimanjaro for us last year. But we rely on the construction companies basically helping their own. So we have construction companies donating like an annual pledge to us.
Okay.
So that, and the pledge, there's no set pledge amount. We know that companies vary in size and turnover. So we're just grateful for, whatever pledge a company can give us. And then we're able to obviously roll out all the services that I've talked about as well.
Wow, if so, companies can get involved, they can make a pledge, they can make like an annual pledge if they want to. Construction workers themselves, they can fundraise. I saw you the video on your website with different ideas as to what you can do to
Yeah.
fundraise. Do you know what, Sarah? I'm curious. I think you mentioned that you've been working there for about a year and a half.
Mhm.
How come you got involved?
So I think I mentioned to you we've got three children, my husband and I. So
Yeah.
we've actually just come back from living in Canada for 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah, in just outside Toronto. So when we came back just over a year and a half ago, my sister actually used to work for the charity.
Yeah.
So she had mentioned to me that they were looking for new regional ambassadors. So I applied, and I absolutely love it, Sheila. It's like the most rewarding job I've ever had.
Wow, go
Um,
on. Rewarding in what way? What's it like? A day in the life of your job and what you're doing.
it's so nice. I get to speak to so many different people every day from different construction companies.
Ah,
We also have our Lighthouse committees, which are volunteers across the UK and Ireland. So I'm
ah.
able to engage with them as well. And yeah, I don't get that sinking feeling on a Sunday before work. We've got a lovely team, and I just find it really rewarding that we're raising awareness about the charity, helping to bring in funds to the charity in order to help, the people out there that need us. So yeah, I love the role. It's
Oh,
great.
you can tell. You could, as you say, it's very rewarding and it's very refreshing as well. Like it's so important to be happy in a job, actually. Like yourself, an ambassador for the charity, the job, construction industry, it's massive. There's so many different areas to it. And it's like that we want it to be a win-win situation. We want the construction workers to be looked after. So then things get done, people are able to cope in stressful situations because things they do happen, that I wonder for yourself, Sarah, and feel free to not answer this question if you don't feel comfortable to do so. But have you ever experienced any kind of mental health issues? I don't know, anxiety, depression, but you don't have to say so if you don't want to. I'm always curious about people's personal stories if they're happy to share a bit.
No, absolutely. So yeah, I mentioned that we moved to Canada in 2016. My husband had a job opportunity out there. So we left in the July. So I left all my support network, obviously all my family. We just had the two older children at that point. Well, they were 3 and 6 when we left. And 6 months after we arrived in Canada, I had a miscarriage.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so that really, because my other two pregnancies had been textbook really. I loved being pregnant, had great pregnancies, great deliveries. So it really sidelined me. I had no healthcare over there because I wasn't a permanent resident at the time. So all the scans, blood tests, everything we had to pay for, even though I was married to a Canadian citizen. So yeah, that was really hard. And I definitely, looking back, because you don't realize it at the time, but I sank into a really bad depression.
Yeah.
So, and it's a bit different in Canada. You have to have a family doctor registered to you, and people can wait along like years to get onto in with a family doctor. Yeah, I didn't do any counselling, or I had no sort of help with my mental health when I was there.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Sarah. And I can imagine it would be difficult for your husband too, because oftentimes the guys talk about it affects everybody in the family. And as you say, you can look back at it now and realize, wow, you'd really gone into a depression. But oftentimes when we're in it, we don't realize it. And then it is that support, and where do you get that? It's so needed, and that wasn't there. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you, Sheila. Yeah, looking back, it was a really desperate time. Really, I had no my own family, my sister, my brother, my parents, and friends that I would have turned to if we'd been in England and that had happened. They weren't around, so I felt very lonely, and I really didn't know who to turn to or what to do or anything. So I mean, thankfully, we had our rainbow baby. She came along about a year and a half later. I probably had postnatal depression going into that miscarriage with my other two as well. So, I was probably still dealing with living in a new country, learning how to drive on the other side of the road, and just, it was a lot mentally. So it's taken me a few years to recover from that. I've had counselling myself.
Joe, I was going to ask you that, Sarah, because here you are advocating for the people to go into counselling, and I was hoping that was going to be the case. And fair play to you, because I think it's important to model those behaviours. I have a therapist on tap as of when I need her. I think it's important to practice what we preach.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd never had counselling before, and I think when you're so in it and in that black, dark, desperate place, you can't even make the call. You can't even Google, local counsellors, or you almost need someone to step in and make that call for you, make that appointment for you, that first step. But I've tried different counselling. I've done the tapping therapy. I've had various sessions, and it's really helped. It's got me back to feeling how I was, a few years ago. So I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your story, because I think they're so powerful. It's one thing talking about the services and what support is out there, but actually there's something very humanistic when you tell your own story, and then it then makes you so much more relatable as well. And because it's a vulnerable place, people, they are scared to pick up the phone and so, but when they know they're dealing with people that have been there, they're not afraid to talk about it. There is a natural empathy there, because look, most people in their lifetimes, they are going to go through tough times, and that's a part of living. It's a part of being a human being. And I think you sharing your story, Sarah, is very powerful here. I think there'll be a lot of people listen to this that can really relate to this. And it's not just about the construction workers themselves, it's their families, whether it's husbands and wives. And I know you mentioned earlier on about if they have the consent of the construction worker, then that's all fine. But even if you're the family member, because people can be proud and the stigma can get in their way, that even if a construction worker is not consenting and their partner is really concerned, can they still ring up and say, look, I just need to chat to somebody who kind of knows about these sort of issues?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%, yeah. And our support services are actually available to family members as well, Sheila. So
Okay.
yeah. So if we know that if someone in your household struggling with something, whether it's a financial issue, an emotional problem, a physical problem, that impacts on how, you know, you show up at work. So yeah, any family members, dependents in your household, partners at home can ring in and ring our helpline, text us, use the live chat. You know, we can use all
Yeah.
of our services.
Yeah, that is just fantastic because it's not just about the individual themselves, it's the family. Often the family, they don't know what to do. They're in crisis themselves because they're so scared. And the fact that they can ring up, I mean, the Samaritans do exactly the same thing. A concerned family member can ring up the Samaritans and have a chat about the person they're concerned with. And oftentimes people don't realize that. So it's just about making things accessible and realizing, look, it's not just about the individual in crisis because oftentimes there's so much in crisis to even pick up the phone is almost an impossible task to do, you know. Wow, Sarah, I mean, there's so much that you do. It's
Yeah.
just, and so many places, as you say, Wales and Ireland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, that you really are. So remind me of all the places again. So I know you've covered all of Ireland. Of course, I'm going to hear that mainly. And then, so
Yeah.
you've Wales, Scotland.
Scotland, yeah, we have my counterpart up there as well, Nicola. Yeah, so
Yeah.
all the regional ambassadors are listed on our website. So you know, if there are anyone listening that would like to get in touch with us and get in touch with their regional ambassador, we're all listed on our website.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And what I'm hearing as well is that like anybody in any part of the construction industry and their families
Yeah.
can just ring themselves. You don't have to be referred, you can just ring up and access that support, which is not just emotional support. You've got the financial support. I love that about the paperwork and tax returns and people
Yeah.
self-employed. I mean, sometimes people they're very good with their hands, especially in the construction industry. And sometimes people, they might be naturally academic. That's just how we are. We're all different. And sometimes the form filling can send somebody over the edge.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. No, our helpline advisors and caseworkers are I'm not going to say experts, but they're there, ready,
No
willing to
pressure.
help. Yes.
I don't think any of us is the expert. I'm always banging
No,
on about it. I think we're all learning as we go along, Sarah. We're all
exactly.
black in life in some way.
Exactly.
But it is. I mean, I love the practical help, that side of things as well. I just think. So, go on and Sarah, how do you look after your mental health then? What keeps you sane?
So we're a busy household with the three children. They're all in activities, hockey, swimming, dance. So I love running. We're lucky enough we live near a bit of a reservoir, so I like running around there. I love biking,
Yeah.
reading.
Hold on, Sarah, biking. Do you mean motorbiking?
Sadly not, just a push
Oh,
bike.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Reading, and yeah, traveling. I love traveling. I think we grew up in Africa. My parents were
Oh,
teachers out there, so I
yeah.
think from a young age we've moved around a lot. So
So,
I
Sarah, were you born in Africa then?
no, my sister and my brother were. I've got an
Yeah.
older brother and a younger sister, and but no, I was born in Liverpool in
Okay.
Wallasey. Yeah.
Oh,
But then I think I was 3 months old, we moved back to Malawi. So my parents were in Uganda for a few years, then Kenya, then Malawi. Yeah.
wow. How long did you live in Africa then?
Me 7 years,
Okay.
and my parents, I think, just over 10 years. Yeah.
Oh God, there's so much I could ask. I could completely digress. Like, what was it like going to school in Africa? There's so much, from a cultural point of view, and do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's so much. I mean, you've really experienced a lot, different cultures, variety, and I love that we said about, about what's I can't think of the word now when you transcribe the language.
Oh, the live chat. Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, that way, dedication for all different languages, because it's not just English, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get asked probably once a month if we can have our posters in Ukrainian, Polish,
Yeah.
Romanian. So yeah, our marketing team are working on something to help around the translating of our posters. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes so much sense because even when I did the talk at JCB, there were so many different nationalities. And
Yeah.
and it was so funny because when I walked up, this was for the nighttime staff, and I was thinking, where are they all hiding, And they were all hanging out at what looked like a bus stop. And I do this thing where I elasticate people, okay? Now, my background's in stand-up comedy here, Sarah, so I do have unusual techniques when it comes to mental well-being. And I get them to put an elastic band on the wrist, and I talk about snapping the chat, so the negative chat, and I use it as a coping mechanism. But you should have seen their faces when Walter goes, right, you all need to be elasticated. And you're a mixture of Polish, Ukrainian, all different nationalities, thinking, who is your one? Like, I really thought I was an escaped victim or a prisoner or something like that. But it is important to be inclusive of all nationalities and to cater for the different languages because that's the world we live in now. It's so diverse.
It is absolutely, yeah. And if we didn't have, those amazing people coming to live here and work here, we wouldn't have all the help that they do have on site, and
Yeah.
our infrastructure wouldn't be what it is today without all that help. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It is so important. There's such a message there, isn't there, to be kind and considerate to everybody, and from all different cultures, nationalities. It's just so important. And it's so inclusive. Like, honestly, Sarah, I'm blown away by the different angles of the charity, the different stuff that you do. I mean, and as you say, what was it, 1956?
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I mean, that is absolutely. So, look, any listeners here, how can they help to spread the word? I mean, obviously, our podcast here is going to go out on my YouTube channel, which is Sheila's YouTube channel. So, if you haven't subscribed to it already, please do, folks, because there's loads of kind of different videos here, podcasts, and it's all about liking, sharing, spreading the word. How else can other listeners kind of just help spread the word, Sarah?
So we've got a big golf arm to our charity as well. I don't know
Ah,
if there are any golfers listening.
I'm sure there is.
Thankfully, now that the weather, has improved and it's stopped raining, all our golf days are happening. So these are great days, obviously, for networking.
Yeah.
They're fun days. We have a live and a silent auction. There's normally a comedian and a compere. So they're great, for raising funds, obviously, for the charity, but raising awareness as well. We have our Christmas lunches coming up towards the end of the year. There's still some spring balls. I think we've got a darts evening coming up. So on our website is all our regional events are on there. So all the Christmas lunches and the golf days. So coming along, entering a team on one of the golf days, or having a table at one of the Christmas lunches, that would be amazing.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just supporting your staff, making sure they've got somewhere to go and talk, relax at work, break out, if they need 10 minutes to decompress.
Yeah.
giving them the tools, the training. Obviously, we offer the mental health first aider training.
Yeah.
Last year, we introduced a suicide awareness course.
Okay.
And I think we had over 340 people do that course in 2023. So just equipping your teams with, and managers, supervisors, educating them on, what signs to look out for if someone is suffering from poor mental health. So just spreading awareness, giving people the education, the tools to know how to cope, to listen to people who are struggling, and then obviously to signpost them.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, Sarah, absolutely fantastic stuff. Social media. I know you've got a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
Strategy.
Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel. Obviously, we're on LinkedIn. We've got a Facebook, Instagram page. And then our local regional committees have their own Facebook pages as well. So yeah, please follow us. We're always posting. If people do fundraising for us, we call them our Lighthouse Days. So we always post out, pictures from the event. We always ask that people just give us a few words about why they chose the charity to raise funds for. So yeah, we're always sharing them as well.
Do you know what, Sarah? Those fundraising days, have you ever had anybody do something really quirky or something?
I'm just trying to think of
To break the cakes, climbing a mountain. Believe me, I wouldn't, credit off for all of that, what people do. But I wonder if anybody's ever did what?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about some. We have lots of football tournaments, lots of three-peats challenge. I think the best one that I can think about is we had a company do a fundraising scheme where what if however many potholes they filled in, and they donated some of their profit to the charity. So I went along to a check presentation after the fundraiser had finished, and we had Pothole Pete there.
Pothole Pete, I love it. That's brilliant.
The company was called Instamac. I don't know if I'm allowed to share that, but
there you go. They're out there now.
They've been amazing. They've really supported us. So yeah, Pothole Pete arrived in his outfit, and
he did. I've got a vision of Pothole Pete.
So yeah, that's probably the funniest one I've been involved in.
It's a brilliant idea. It is a brilliant. But I love that being creative with the different fundraising, I mean, why not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, it is all about helping each other at the end of the day. So what you're doing is absolutely amazing. As I mentioned earlier on, it needs to be out there, the Lighthouse Charity. I mean, look, in other places, the podcast that people have had the privilege to speak with, so many people have been shouting about the Lighthouse. I've been so looking forward to us having a chat. And so for any of the listeners here, please spread the word about this podcast, because as you can hear, there is so much support out there, but specific support. I love that. And accessible support straight away. That you certainly don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And I'm not surprised there's so many companies and organizations that are putting a pledge to support the amazing work that you do. And thank you so much, Sarah, as well, for sharing your own story. Again, I think people's stories are so powerful. It's relatable. We're all the same at the end of the day. And that it's always, okay to ask for help, to ask for support. That's what everybody wants. I often use the flip technique, in that I might ask somebody who's struggling to ask for support, that if your friend was in a similar situation, would you want to keep it all to themselves, or would you want them to access support? And they'd be like straight away saying, I would want them to access support. Well, why not model that behavior then? So you're encouraging your friend to. Do you know what I mean? So it is about, come on, we all want to be happy at the end of the day. Times can be tough, things happen, especially in the construction industry, and there is help out there. Do you know what I mean? So let's help each other. Win-win. Isn't it, Sarah?
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, we know it's a physically demanding industry. You drive along the motorway and you see the construction workers out there in all weathers. It can be 30 degrees and then freezing, snow, rain, everything. It's a tough industry, very well paid. But that is very highly pressured. They're working to strict contracts. So we need to, all just be kind, help each other. Everyone's going through something, or they've got a family member in their household going through something. So the more people that know that we're here, that we can offer practical support as well as, emotional support.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, folks, it's a Lighthouse construction industry charity. And if you're in the UK and you need support straight away, just text 85258. Lovely. Thanks for moving back, Sarah. If you're in the Republic of Ireland, just text 50808. And to get in contact with somebody straight away, we've also got the phone lines. In the UK, it's 0345 605 1956. And in the Republic of Ireland, it's 1-800-939-122. And no doubt, Ben, the fabulous Ben, who does the editing of these podcasts, will put these details within the content to go along with this podcast. Sarah, you've been an absolute pleasure to spend time with today.
Oh, thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you so much for inviting us on and giving us this platform and opportunity to raise awareness about us.
You're so welcome, Sarah. It's all about helping each other. So listeners, do your thing. Give us a like and a share and help us spread the word here as we just all help each other, because that's what it's all about. Sarah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you for listening to Counsellor Convos with Sheila McMahon. If you've enjoyed this episode, consider checking out her YouTube channel or pop on her website, mindmanagementforyou.com.